When subtracting rational numbers, we use the same rules that we used for subtracting integers. Remember that when subtracting a number, it is the same as adding the opposite of the number. If the signs are the same, we add and keep the sign. If the signs are different, we subtract and keep the sign of the big guy. Remember, when dealing with decimal numbers, we line up the decimal and bring it straight down into our answer when we add or subtract decimals. And when dealing with fractions, you have to have common denominators so that you can add or subtract. Your answer in fraction form should be in simplest form, and having an improper fraction is okay. You can either put it in improper fraction form or mixed number. Number 1, we have -5 minus 1/2. Now, as you can see, these have the same sign. 5 is negative, and 1/2 is -1/2. That's what the subtraction sign means. The subtraction sign is both a subtraction sign and a negative sign. It functions as both. So we have -5 and -1/2. They have the same sign, so I'm going to add and keep the sign. I would add 5 plus 1/2, which would give me 5 and 1/2. After I add, I'll keep the sign. They're both negative, so I'm going to keep that negative sign. My sum will be -5 and 1/2. That is my answer. Number 2, I have 1/7 minus 3/7. 1/7 is positive. This 3/7 is negative because of that minus sign. That minus sign again means negative. So they have different signs. I have a positive and a negative. They have different signs, so I need to subtract and keep the big guys. So let's subtract larger number, 3/7 minus smaller number. 3/7 minus 1/7 would give me 2/7. After I subtract, I keep the big guy. Is 1/7 or 3/7 the big guy? Well, this one's the big guy, right? -3/7 is furthest away from 0, and so I keep its sign. My sum will be -2/7. Number 3, -4 3/4 minus 1/4. When dealing with mixed numbers, I would encourage you to make them improper fractions and then operate. So let's use the C method to make this number improper. 4 times 4 is 16. 16 plus 3 is 19. That's my numerator, 19. My denominator stays the same, 19/4. Of course, this is a negative number, so it's -19/4. I still need to subtract 1/4. When I'm looking at this, do they have the same sign or different signs? Well, -19/4, that's a negative number, and this is -1/4 or -1/4. So they are both negative numbers. They have the same sign. And because they have the same sign, I need to add them and keep the sign. So let's add these fractions. They have the same denominator, so my denominator stays the same. I'm going to add the numerators. What's 19 plus 1? Well, that's 20. And after I add those numbers, I need to keep the sign. The signs are negative on both of these numbers, so let's keep it. This would be -20/4. Now, is this simplest form? No, it's not, right? What's 20/4 or 20 divided by 4? Well, that's 5, right? And of course, this still is a negative number, so this simplifies to -5. Number 4, couple decimals here. -3.7 minus -4.9. Right off the bat, you should see minus a negative. And so in your mind, you should be thinking slash slash. Those negatives become positives. So if I rewrite this, it would be -3.7 plus positive 4.9, or just plus 4.9. So are the signs the same or different? Well, this is negative, this is positive. They have different signs, so I need to subtract larger number minus smaller number. Notice how I line the decimals up. Subtract, bring the decimal straight down to your answer. 4.9 minus 3.7 is 1.2. Now after I subtract, I need to keep the big guy. Which one's the big guy? 3.7 or 4.9? 4.9 is the big guy, right? And his sign is positive, so my answer will be positive. So positive 1.2, 1 2/10. Number 5, last one here. I have decimals. I'm looking for, do they have the same sign or different sign? Well, this number is negative. It's -1.6. What about this number? Is it positive or negative? you should say negative, right? That's what the minus sign means. That sign right there goes with this number. And so both of these numbers are negative. And because they're both negative, they have the same sign, I will add 1.6 and 2.1. When I add them, I get 3.7. Okay, after I add, I'll keep the sign. Signs are both negative, so my answer is negative 3.7, negative 3 7/10.